my
Oh, I got a
gosh.
song for everything.
You do.
Oh, I do.
Except for Raspberry Beret.
Except for Raspberry Beret.
You don't know that song.
I don't. It sounds like I want to eat it, not sing it.
Do you know anything by, like, say, Michael Jackson? Because they're in the same...
Oh, yeah. And now Michael Jackson, yeah. But...
I just don't know how you know one and not the other.
I know who Prince is, but I don't know his music. I don't know all of his. I just know the one. What is Purple Rain? But I couldn't tell you all the words to it.
What's Olin Mills?
It's the pictures. You know, the canvas, the oil painting pictures. You know, they would take your picture, and then they would have somebody paint it on an oil painting. And they'd charge you an arm and a leg, and you'd hang it up in your living room.
In, like, the 18th century?
Yeah, something like that.
This is a real thing they used to do when you were a kid?
Oh, yeah. I've got one of me in this white lace dress, or it's like lilac, like one of those. And then I'm doing this. I kid you not. It's hideous.
And they painted you in oil?
In oil, yeah. It's like an oil painting. Yeah, it's on a canvas.
Wow. There you have it, guys. This is, for heaven's sake, hang on a second. Jenny's not here. She always is. Hey everyone, welcome back to this episode of For Heaven's Sakes. I'm your co-host Kalynn Jones, and I have a very special guest with me today. For the last few episodes now, we have been in a series called The Sons and the Daughters, and we've been bringing in people who either influence us, have influenced the community, have impacted our lives in some way, and we've let you hear their stories, what's on their heart, and how they've gotten to where they are today. And today we have one of my very good friends. I love her so much. Her name is Amy. I'm gonna let you see her. Okay.
I'll pay you after.
And so me and Amy do not go way back. It's a relatively new friendship that has kindled. She blessed us with her presence at Oak Park. How long ago was it?
October of 24.
October of 24. Y'all can do that math. So 9 years now. I don't know. A year-ish ago. Okay. A year-ish ago. Yeah. She started coming, and we just hit it off. You started something new. About the same time we started a podcast, you started doing some stuff on TikTok. It's called, what's it called?
Carpool Karaoke.
And
on the way to school.
And what is that?
That's me and my 2 kids and a friend of my daughter's. She's like my 3rd child. Mm-hmm. I pick her up every morning before school, and we just literally get songs together, like off the cuff. Nobody knows what we're going to do until 5 minutes before we record it and post it, because it started out with these kids just have bad attitudes in the mornings. And it's either...
You can't tell at all by watching
really?
it. That they're,
no, you can't.
That they're not excited to be up. Especially one of them.
But it's always like, I don't want to go to school. I don't want to do this. And so I was like, let's sing some music. But before, I wish I would have got this recorded, because I made all of them ball up their attitudes, roll the window down, throw them out the window, roll the window back up, and say, okay, we're starting scratch. We're starting new. So We're going to be happy from this point on. We're not going to have this in here. I said, we're going to sing, we're going to worship Jesus before we go to school. And they're like, yes, ma'am. So that's what we do. And it seemed to get them in a better mood. And then especially when people and teachers and kids started seeing them in the school saying, hey, I saw you this morning. Well, that just did something to them. So now they are like, what are we singing in the morning? What are we going to do? I don't know. We'll find out in the morning, because that's why I like it, because it's not pre-planned. I like just doing it. Yeah. You know, I just off the cuff, just getting up there. And usually like on a Monday or a Thursday, you're going to get what we've sang at church. Yeah. You know, you're going to get a chorus about what we sang at church or whatever. But it's just something fun that we do, and I don't know, it just helps them it helps me get in a little bit better mood.
Yeah.
Because I get frustrated in the morning times getting ready in just a few minutes.
Yeah.
And going into the office, after working from home for 5 years, now we're going back into the office. It's just like, it's rough.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And worship has always been like special to you and on your heart.
Yes.
Throughout your whole life.
Since I was 4.
Yeah. Go ahead and tell us about like how that started.
I was singing before I could even talk. I was singing out of hymnals. People thought I could read the hymnals. I couldn't even. They were upside down. I was singing out of hymnals at 4 years old, upside down, and but I know about it. Just about every song in the red back. I love hymnals. I was raised on Southern gospel music. That's all. For the first 15 years of my life, up until I was 15, I was the only person that sang. Well, no, I was 25 because my brother didn't start singing until he was 20. So, but I sang since I was 4 years old, and then we traveled. When I was 25, 26, we started traveling. So we traveled for 10, 12 years. And then, of course, I met my husband at work. Didn't know he played guitar. And so after we were engaged, he come on and started playing for us, and he traveled with us for 8 of those years. And so, yeah, that's all I've ever known, all I've ever done.
And how did you meet Chris?
So he moved down to Goshen, Mississippi, from Starkville, Mississippi, for a job. He had graduated from Mississippi State, and he came down to work out at Ingalls for the Navy. And so I worked for a government contractor, so we worked like right down the hall from each other. And I remember the first time I saw him, I walked around the corner, and I was like, "Hey," and he's like, I was like, "Excuse me." I mean, I was just kind to you, and you gonna give me some sour look.
Mm-hmm.
And but once we became friends, he's like, "When you walked around the corner, I thought you were Slash."
And it's funny because I asked him literally yesterday, I think, or the day before yesterday. I was like, "Was it love at first sight?" And he was like, "Oh yeah, definitely."
He said, "She looks like my favorite guitar player."
That is what he said.
I was like, I don't know whether to take that as an offense or a compliment. I don't know.
Yeah. He said, "Yeah, pretty much. I did. I loved her at first sight." And then you found out later he played the guitar.
Yep, I found out later.
Y'all were already dating?
We were already engaged. He didn't start playing guitar for us until June of 2010, and we got married in September.
So, you went your whole dating career without realizing like you were...
Well, I knew he played guitar once we started dating. I found out he played guitar, but I was like, I don't know how good he is.
Yeah.
I'm one of those, I'm like, we'll let him play at home by himself.
Play the guitar.
And just, then he started coming to singings with us, and everything local. Like, if there was something local, he would come to it. And he was like, okay, I like, it's really good, And because he was on a different type of music than what we were, we were singing, we were just now getting into more of a contemporary.
He probably knows Raspberry Beret.
I don't think he knew what Raspberry Beret was.
No, he does.
He thought it was like a
the kind
something from a bakery
at the secondhand store. Raspberry Beret. I think I love her.
Okay.
It's such a good song. Well, I'm getting off track for a second, but you talked about Southern gospel and like all the. I expressed to you Raspberry Beret. Well, I didn't know until months ago. Everybody, it's just baffled by this story, but it's true. A few months ago, Caleb was playing Live and He Loved Me in the car.
He told us about that.
And I was like, oh, this song sounds really old. And he was like, I mean, yeah, it's kind of old. And I was like, I thought Casting Crowns wrote it. He was like, what? You thought Casting Crowns wrote Live and You Love Me? I was like, yeah. Oh, glorious day. I thought for sure.
No.
So we were just different.
Yep.
But we do both know Reba McEntire
Yes.
and Fancy.
Yes.
Yeah, you've given me a special on that.
Yeah. With the bonnet.
Oh gosh.
Yes.
So
I
how
love
many?
me some Reba.
But you sent me a picture the other day of Chris's room where he does his music stuff.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
And there are quite a few guitars
Yes.
in there. How many does he have now? Is it bad to say? I'll cut it out if you don't want us to know.
I mean, 13, 14, 15.
So you didn't just marry a guitarist, you married a guitarist.
I
and
married
you
someone
dated
obsessed with
a
guitars.
guitarist and
Yes.
didn't even know
Yeah.
until you got married
Until
how good he is.
about halfway. No, I didn't until.
'Cause he's really good.
Yeah, he's really good. I'm really proud of him.
Hmm. He's also a Lego master.
Oh yes.
Yes.
Oh yeah. He loves them Legos.
Hmm.
They just put together some this weekend.
Hmm.
Some little ones.
And then I realized, because after Wednesday night, we went and ate together on Wednesday night. And usually I have this ritual, I guess, where I get in bed and I think about every single thing that happened all week long. And one thing I was thinking about is my son went. She's one of the, another thing about Amy, is she is one of the only people in the entire world I would trust for my son to spend the night with overnight.
Two nights.
He did. And she carried him to school, and she did an excellent job at it. And now my son will not stop singing "It's Raining Tacos," thanks to her son, Christopher.
He
And
also got to be a part of Carpool Karaoke.
he did get to
Yes.
be on an episode.
He
of
was actually
Carpool
like a
Karaoke.
star that morning.
He was
Yeah.
really good at
He was.
it. He
was.
just took the order of service
Yeah.
to himself.
He made a lot of people's morning. I
Yes.
got messages from that one saying, "Oh my God, that just made my day."
Oh, for sure.
Yes.
Yeah. But he was talking to me about, he literally talks about the whole Rodgers family all the time, and he talks about Hartley, and he talks about Christopher, and he talks about Amy, and then he gets a little stumped on Amy's boy's name, which is her husband. She's like, and the boy, her man, Amy's man, and he was talking to my mom about him, and he was like, I have Amy, and I've got Christopher, and I think her man's name's Christopher too. And I was thinking about that, and I was like, well, we have something in common, and he didn't even realize that, like, literally, it's his situation.
Yeah.
He's a CJ.
Yeah.
Caleb, and he was like, I think that man's name's Christopher too. I'm like, you don't
You know, it's
say.
funny because everybody was like, "You should call him CJ for short." Talking about my Christopher
Oh.
because he's Chris Jr.
Uh-huh.
And I was like, "No," because he had a couple kids that he was already going to school with,
Uh-huh.
CJ.
Yeah.
And I'm like, apparently Christopher is a very popular name.
Yeah.
I've got cousins, and I had cousins that married Christophers, and yeah, it's just like they're everywhere.
Wow.
Yes.
Caleb's
yes.
are everywhere too.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we just I call him Christopher. I used to call Chris Christopher. And so now it's reversed. But
No.
now at school, Christopher goes by Chris because it's easier for everybody to say than Christopher. Chris, come here.
I'm going to start calling him Christoph.
Christopher. You know, I called him that for a little bit. He's like,
he didn't
but
like
his
that.
nickname is Tooter.
Tooter.
Tooter. We call him Tooter.
Does he
Tooter,
love
yes.
that or hate that?
It just depends. If it's in front of people, he's like, "Don't call me that in front of people, Mama."
He's so funny.
Yeah, and I'll do it and not realize it because that's all I've known to call him.
Well, how did you get Hartley's name? Oh, it's a
So
good
I
story.
was watching this show. It was a little doctor show that came on, and the guy that played on there, his last name was Hartley, but it was spelled with a Y, ending in a Y, L-E-Y. And I was like, I really like that name. I would name my child that. And but I changed it to Hartley, Hartlee, because my middle name is Lee, Lee.
Mm-hmm.
And so I said, I want to, and Chris is like, So I gave him a list of names, and I just thought of all these horrible, horrible names. He's
Oh.
going to find out on this. I put a list of all these horrible names, and I put Hartley at the top. And of course, he had to pick Hartley because it was the best name on the list. I mean,
oh my gosh.
yeah. But I wanted him to be a part in picking the name.
Well, so when we found out we were pregnant with CJ, I did not have a girl's name picked out. Like, I was like, I don't know. I liked the name Indiana.
She was going to be a Hoosier. Ain't that right? Ain't that what they are, Hoosiers?
But we cannot name our child Indiana because I'm married to Caleb Jones. It would be Indiana Jones.
You know, funny story. When I was pregnant with Christopher, they told me, so I found out I was pregnant with him when I was 14 weeks.
Uh-huh.
And so
That's a long time.
Yeah. Yeah, so I had just went through like a major surgery, didn't know I was pregnant. So in my 8-week post-op, I found out I was 14 weeks pregnant.
Yes. At your 8-week post-op, you were pregnant during the surgery?
Yes, and they did not know it because it was a negative test that came through. It was a bad batch of tests that went through. And so I found out I was 14 weeks, so like 4 weeks later, 3 or 4 weeks later, that my next appointment, I was going to be able to find out what I was having.
So you didn't have to wait?
No. And they said, you're having a girl. I was like, are you sure? Yes. You know, they're showing me. I was like, okay, I've got the ultrasounds. And then at 37 weeks, I already had 3 girl showers. She was going to be Amelie Dawn. That was her name. And at 37 weeks, I went to the doctor, and the girl's doing the ultrasound, and she's like, oh, he is getting so big. I said, who? And she looked at the little thing around and said, wait, you're having a boy. I went, no, you've been telling me I've been having a girl. She went, oh, no. And she went back and looked at previous ultrasounds. She's like, we did put girl. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it's definitely a boy. And so I called my mom. I went to the bathroom stall at the doctor's office, and I called my mom, and I said, you've got to meet me and Chris. He's going to drop me off with you. We got to go to Belk and get some clothes for this baby. It's coming. You know, and that was 37 weeks, and I had Christopher at 38 weeks and 2 days. So that's how much time I had to, and I'd been preparing this whole time for a girl. So I had that much time to prepare for a boy.
And now here he is,
yep,
little Kristoff.
Yep, little Kristoff. Yep, Tater.
Oh, wow.
And, yep.
He's going to hate this.
But yeah, so, and then I felt so bad. I was like, I've been calling him a girl name this whole time. Oh, my God. He didn't know, but I did. Hartley said, you wasn't going to call him Hartley, was you? I said, no, I gave you a different name. I didn't want you.
Man.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yep. Look, I know how to get myself into stuff, I guess. I don't know. It's always something.
That's a story. But I'm going to tell another story here, and I'm going to leave her name out because I just feel like it will be fun to leave her name out. So there's this girl who works for a church now, and she grew up, like, the first half of her life, she was, like, lost. Mm-hmm. Didn't attend church, didn't care to, from what I understand. And then in her mid-adulthood, well, based off of where she is now, she's not mid-adulthood now, but later in her life, she started attending a church, and she got saved, and her daughter collected baby dolls. Mm-hmm. And she did not know until she started attending a church that she had allowed for her child to name her baby doll Jezebel. She didn't know. And so they called her Jezzy Baby.
That's funny.
But you have been doing a deep study on Jezebel for midweek classes at Oak Park. Yes. And I want to see if you want to tell us anything about that.
Well, I can. I just know that when you asked me to talk on Jezebel, I really wasn't, it wasn't clicking that I was doing a woman of the palace. Mm-hmm. And I was just, just growing up, Jezebel, you have the Jezebel spirit, you have all this kind of stuff. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get in here, I'm going to dig into Jezebel. 3 o'clock the morning, that Wednesday morning that I was supposed to teach, after I've known about this for 2 months, and I've got literally 5 different outlines that I want to talk about. Mm-hmm. And then I woke up that morning at 3 o'clock, and the Lord's like, you're not talking about a spirit. You're talking about, oh, who was she? Who was she mm-hmm. in the palace, but the more that I got to really digging deep, I was like, all right, Lord, I see you, I hear you, I understand, but, and then that night when I taught, I realized I need a part 2.
Yeah.
But I didn't say anything. And then all of a sudden, I get a text message that says, hey, do you want to talk about Jezebel again, but as a villain? Mm-hmm. I said, oh, yeah, I've got 5 outlines ready for Jezebel.
I can't wait.
But my whole point about Jezebel, it's never been about pointing fingers, or it's not been about labeling people. It's been more about God teaching me how to recognize control, manipulation, intimidation, and counterfeit authority. Because first in myself, then in environments, and then in spiritual atmospheres, because he's been purifying my discernment so that I can walk in truth and humility and obedience. And that's been my biggest thing, is being obedient and listening, because I could have came in there and taught what I had already laid out, but I knew that at 3 o'clock in the morning, he did not want me to do it. Mm-hmm. And he likes to wake me up at 3 in the morning. He had me up at 3 o'clock this morning, and, I was going through my notes this morning, and I seen where I had wrote down the dream that I had back like 6 months ago of, my son, and I had wrote some stuff up about it, and he's like, it's time. And then I start going through it, and I start seeing things in that dream that I wrote, and some of the notes that I wrote down about it, and I was just adding more and more to it of a revelation that I was getting from that. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, the enemy, and just like with Jezebel, he is a silent killer, and you don't even realize it. We have that spirit in and around us everywhere we go. We don't even realize it, because it looks good, it sounds good, it acts good, but all it's looking for is a back door, a little crack to get in, so it can come in and overtake the family. Because if the enemy can overtake the family, it can overtake the church, because the family is the church. We make the church. The church is not a building. And that's just something that's almost like, even though it's like people know it, it's still not registering that the church is just a building. We are the church. What we say, what we do, whenever we walk out into the streets, into the schools, and that's what I tell my kids every day, you've got to be the light. We are the salt and the light of the earth. I tell them, and they'll sit there and look at me like, I said, if the salt loses its savor, I said, if I give you something that it's not seasoned, are y'all going to like it? And of course they're like, ugh. I said, yeah. So if we don't have the saltiness of Jesus in us, and it's not, coming out of us, then nobody wants to be around us. We want people to see Jesus in us. Everything we say, everything we do, even our thought process, it should edify Jesus in everything that we do. And it's just something that I feel like that needs to be, I don't want to, but I'm going to make sure they hear it every day.
Yeah.
Be mindful. Know that everything you say and everything you do, you're going to be held accountable for. Mm-hmm. And I'm pointing every finger back at me, because what I say and what I do and what I live, and I can't just tell my kids how to live. I got to live it. Mm-hmm. I got to be that light to them, but I've got to let Jesus shine through me so they can see it.
Yeah.
I don't want them to just hear it. I want them to see it. And so seeing it and hearing it, that's a hard job.
Yeah. Mm.
But yeah, so the Jezebel thing really got me. I don't know. I look at Ahab, and
He was such a baby.
he was. So when you asked me to do the lesson on, I did the demon of Gadara, and I remember going through all three gospels, and it was Matthew, Mark, and Luke.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so Matthew was what he said it was multiple men that was possessed, and then Luke said it was unclean spirits. But Mark said it was unclean spirits, but Luke said a certain man. And I got to looking at what a certain man was. And if you break it all down, what does certain mean? Certain means surely. What does surely mean? Surely means yes. So he was a yes man. So yes man is a weak man. Mm-hmm. And then I got to reading when I was in Jezebel about Ahab. Ahab was a weak man.
He was. Mm-hmm.
That's why the enemy was able to come in, because he was weak. Mm-hmm. He didn't care, because all the other priests and all the other people that was in there, they followed protocol. Whether or not they believed it or not, they still followed the protocol of having the right people in the palace, having the right people. But he didn't care. Mm-mm. He just wanted what he wanted, and that's why he let her take control. Mm-hmm. And I remember growing up, everybody always said it was Jezebel painted her eyes, Jezebel. And it was all about a look. And the more you read, that it's not about a look. It was a spirit. Mm-hmm. She was about control. Mm-hmm. She wanted to come in and take control of everything. She wanted the power. She manipulated people to think that
Well, it makes me think of the beginning of that story. They're like, he sees this land that he wants, a vineyard on, or whatever it is that he wanted to put on it. And he goes back when the man says no. He goes back and he pouts and he pitches a fit. And she comes in, and it's so interesting to me because she comes in and she asks a question. I don't have my Bible with me, but it's along the lines of like, aren't you the king? Mm-hmm. But the question in that is so interesting to me because think about that question. Aren't you the king? When really, who was not him, really. She was the one pulling the string. So it was just so, you can see both sides of the coins of reading that question and being like, well, aren't you the king? Mm-hmm. Who is the king? Who is the king? Who's the king? And really, the question remained, like, who is really calling the shots here?
Right. He had the title.
Him. Yep.
It's like that saying, they'll say, well, I ruled the roost, she rules the rooster. And that's pretty much what was going on in this, is that she was manipulating him in ways. She was going through that back door and manipulating him, and he was like, yeah, do what you want to do. Because as long as he was being pleased, she was doing, and he wasn't going to mess with her, because whenever and that's the thing about a Jezebel spirit, is that when you disrupt it, that's when you'll see it rear its head, is when you start disrupting that spirit. And he knew that. I feel like he knew that. This is me. This is Amy 1 and 1, is I feel like he didn't want to disrupt that spirit, because he knew, just like a husband and wife, I'm not going to mess with her today because, my God, she's going to blow up. That's what he was doing. He's like, I'm not going to bother her. I'm not going to mess with her, because if I do, she's going to go crazy. She's going to go psycho. So let's just let her do what she wants to do. We'll keep the peace in the palace. But all he was doing was creating an even bigger monster. Mm-hmm. And when that spirit come in, because, God ordains the man the head. Mm-hmm. And not saying that he's better than the woman, but that's biblical. He has ordained the man as the head. That's why it was...
It's hard lessons we both learned.
Look, the summer of 2024, And I know it was the Lord because it was almost like it was strong. And when the Lord spoke to my spirit and said, you've got to give your husband the spiritual reins. And at the time, after going on 14 years, it was over almost 13 years, 14 years of marriage, I was more of the spiritual leader, so to speak. It's just who I was. And he said, you've got to give your husband those reins. No. It took me about 8 weeks. It took me about 2 months. And I said, Lord, I'm not being obedient. And I'm being disobedient. I'm not in the will of God being disobedient. And I want to be in the perfect will of God. I don't want a permissive will. Mm-hmm. I don't want just, a faithful will. Oh, you've been faithful, so let me, I don't want that. I want his perfect will. And I was being rebellious. And I had to stop and check myself and say, God, I'm sorry. Because I wasn't listening. I wasn't, I was doing what Amy wanted to do. Mm-hmm. And finally, I told him, one morning we woke up and I said, I'm going to get ready. We're going to get in the car. And I'm going to let you lead us where you feel like we need to be. And in my mind, I'm going, But he led us to a spirit-filled church. And I'm thankful that I let him take the reins, because once that happened, it's like doors started opening. It didn't take 6 months. It didn't take a year. It was like immediate. Phone calls started coming in. Things started opening up, and I'm like, and not just church-related things, but other things in our personal lives, in our home. It's just like all I had to do was let go. I was like, God, I give you 99.9% of everything. Why do you want that one little grain of salt that's in my hand? He wants everything. And once we give him everything, I'm telling you, it's just like a load is being lifted off your shoulders, and you don't realize it until, because I was like, well, what else can I give you? Mm-hmm. It's not me giving him, it's listening and giving my husband those leader reins, mm-hmm. and letting him be the spiritual leader of our home. And that was a hard thing to do, because, being in my 30s, getting married, I was set in my ways. Mm-hmm. That's what, I'm like, I've got this. I don't need nobody to tell me how to do. I know what I'm supposed to do. I know, but it don't matter about what I'm supposed to do. It's who am I following and who am I listening to? And so that was being at the time 44 years old.
And then little did you know that there was this little 27-year-old girl praying, Lord, will you please just send me a really good friend? And you both opened the door. Like, literally the night before, I was, like, really missing some people in Colorado. And I had really great friends in Colorado. And I was thinking about them. And I was like, oh, will you please, God, just send me a friend? I just want a friend. Will I ever have a friend like that again? And then, literally, the next day, you come in, and I was like, I don't think that's her. I was just kidding. Just kidding. But there it was. And I was like, I knew. I was like, pretty sure. I was like, oh, you sent me a friend. Even before we'd talked.
And that's like, even when we started coming, I was like, I'm going to be like this with everybody, because I like to.
For like 16 seconds.
Yes.
You jumped right in. You were part of.
I really didn't.
I felt like you did.
Chris did. But I was like, I'm going to take my time. But I know so many people.
Yeah.
Anyway. Mm-hmm. So it was like, everybody's like, hey, when you going to start? I was like, eventually, eventually, And because I just like to get to know my surroundings, so to speak. You want to get in and you want to just, I don't know. I was just enjoying coming in and being fed.
Yeah.
Because for so many years, even with us traveling like we did, you feel like you're always the one giving. And sometimes you just want to take in. And that's why I like 2 services. Because I like to come into both services. I mean, personally, I feel like if you're up there and you're a part, I think you should be a part of both services if
Yeah.
you're,
Yeah.
because each one's different.
Yeah.
I know they try to preach the same outlines, but it's never really the same. There's something different in each service. And sometimes I get more out of one than I do,
Yeah.
it's like, oh, wait, that clicked, But I can't get enough of it. I love coming into church. I love hearing the message. I love, if I miss one of the services, I'm like, I don't like it.
Same. Me too.
I
I
don't like
really
it.
just love.
And I'll go listen to other people. I mean, I'll go listen to other ministers, and I'll go listen to other live streams and stuff like that. I love the word, and I love to,
Me too.
I like to just take it all in. I mean, growing up, this is so funny because we lived in a little single wide trailer growing up, all 5 of us. And my daddy would put on cassette tapes at night, and we would sleep on pallets on the floor. We had bedrooms, but we'd all go get on pallets on the floor of Mom and Daddy's bedroom, and he would listen to preachers on there, Stanley Obensby, Daryl Turner, all those, ministers that come in there and preach revivals at church, and we would listen to preaching tapes every night. And then if it wasn't preaching tapes, it was the Hensons. We'd listen to the Hensons music. And so that's what I grew up doing every night. I mean, that's just what we did. And it was just a peace, hearing that and doing that. Most kids, they're like, oh, God, I couldn't handle that. I'm like, I love it.
Yeah.
I could sit there with the earbud in my ear and go to sleep with all that playing in my ear and it not bother me one second, because that's just what I'm used to. And I know we was at my mom's one day, and I came in and my brother had pulled up a sermon on YouTube. It was B.H. Clendenin, and he had the kids sitting there. He said, y'all sit down. Y'all need to listen to this. It was from like 1983 or 1986 or something like that. And they're going, and I'm over there going, this is good. Y'all sit there and listen. And they're going, why are y'all making us listen to this? But these kids need to understand where we came from and what we listened to, and, what brought us to where we are today. Because, I want to know that I had, I hear of, Brother David's mentor was T.L. Lowry. T.L. Lowry preached one of the greatest messages I ever heard at Mississippi camp meeting. And I think it was 1998, I think it was. He preached on Jeremiah 33:3. I will never forget that message as long as I live, because I was going through something. It was just like, I just got off work, and no, I'm sorry. It was in 2000, I think it was 2002. It was between there. I'm trying to remember what color car I was driving. I think it was silver. I don't think it was the red one. I think it was the silver one. Anyway, but he preached on Jeremiah 33:3. He literally broke down, call unto me, and I will answer thee, and show you great and mighty things which thou knowest not. He preached 1.5 hours on that. And the Shekinah, people talk about the Shekinah glory coming down. I remember sitting in that camp meeting service, and it was like a haze coming down in that place. I remember this woman came in in a wheelchair, and he had her walking around that building. He said, just keep taking laps. Every time she would walk, and I was on the front row of the second section, every time she'd walk around, her foot would go in. It would go in. It would go in. I mean, it was just like incredible times, and these ministers coming in. These kids nowadays, they don't understand what we saw. And, they don't understand why we are the way we are. They think, oh, we just got here. We just got this way. But we fought some things. We've went through some things. We got a lot of scars. And we didn't just get here smiling, oh, hey, praise the Lord, hallelujah, thank you, Jesus. And it's still.
Yeah, and I think TikTok culture plays a little bit of role in that. We see the instantaneous gratification.
I call it the microwave generation.
Yeah. Like, we have people doing experiments for months, and they just shoot to the end result, and you're seeing it instantly. And even just the sped up, like, this is how you ice a cake. Like, they make it look easy, but that's really sped up. Like, you're seeing, you're missing the whole process. We cut the process out of everything, and we expect to get somewhere without a process.
And you got to go through the process.
You got to go through
it hurts. You got to go through that refining.
Mm-hmm. So before we end, I'm going to tell you a story. I don't know that I've told you this story. I put it at the end of the podcast because I don't know if I'll put it in or not. But I have a story about kind of the same thing that you and Chris went through about me, like really surrendering to letting Caleb handle something. And when we moved from Colorado to Oak Park, I think that God was dealing with me about like a transition is coming, but I was in complete denial the moment it happened. Like how, and maybe even shocked. I kind of think back and forth on whether or not I was shocked or if I was in denial, but I think that God gave me I believed at one point in time, really for the whole time, that we were there for good. Like we were, I not necessarily maybe at that church, but I thought we were at least in that region for good. And I think that he gave me that so that I had a intense love for those people. Like I just was like, you've got to make it here. You've got to make it. Yep. You're 1,500 miles away from home, and you've got to make it here. You've got to find your people, and you've got to. And I think that he gave me that belief because of, for that. Mm-hmm. And so when Caleb hit me with we've been offered a job at Oak Park, I was like, we're not going. Like, okay, well, we're not going. We're here in Colorado, and
you done made me like these people. You done made me have relationships with these people.
And I started praying, like, God confirm this to me. And he was like, no, trust your husband. That's what I heard. I said, no, I don't. I do not. I trust you. Water on the rock, dry ground, reverse it. Show me that Old Testament confirmation. Like, let the water turn red. I want to know, like, you screaming at me. He's like, no, I trust your husband. I was like, okay, well, you don't have to make the ground dry and the rock wet. You just have the next person come up to me and say,
put that fleece out.
U-Haul. But just, just give me something. No, trust your husband. I was like, I don't want to. And he kept on and kept on and kept on. And I literally get in the U-Haul, and we're driving through New Mexico, and I'm like, God, what is happening to my life? Like, it's all changed in 16 seconds. Like, what in the world? And I'm like, and he was just, trust your husband. I'm like, I'm in the U-Haul. Can't you tell me something else? Like, tell me something else. And, like, I'm pitching a fit. And we pull up to Oak Park, and I'm still in this, like, you can go in. You can go see this church. I don't want to. I was being nicer than Caleb, and, like, but in my mind and I was wrestling with God. I was like, you go look at the church. I don't want to look at this church. Like,
I was fine where we were.
And then we walk into the church, and then Asher Wilkerson meets us at the church, and he gives us a tour. I almost said what kind of tour. He gives us a tour of the closets, and that was about it. And he tells me, 6 months prior to the tour that Asher's given us, walking into Oak Park, I had a dream that me and Caleb were eating at Golden Corral with a bunch of other people, and we were having a feast. We were having a good old time, like a party with all these people. And somebody stood up, and they clanged their glass, and they say, let the feast begin. And we are just fiesting, having a good old time.
Fiesting at the Cracker Barrel. At the
Golden Corral. Now, Golden Corral was like the only restaurant we had in Pueblo that wasn't authentic Mexican food. So that's why it was Golden Corral. Because that was all. That's what my heart knew. That was it. Okay, so he tings this glass. He says, "Let the feast begin." We have this big old and then out of nowhere, Amber Alerts start going off on the TVs it was like a sports bar at Golden Corral. There were TVs everywhere. Okay, it's a dream. So stay with me. There was Nancy Drew. Is she the missing person? people, Nancy Grace.
Nancy Grace.
Nancy
Yeah.
Grace. So she was she was on all the TVs, and it was like the bride is missing. So I knew, it wasn't told to me, but I knew just being in a dream that we were celebrating some sort of wedding, and they were like, we were having this party, we were celebrating this wedding, and I knew that the bride was missing. Like, who was missing was the bride, and we were celebrating this bride, and this bride's not here. Well, then out of nowhere, we sit in this auditorium, and we're sitting in this auditorium with all these people, and we are sitting there waiting on the wedding to start. The bride is still missing, but we know the wedding is going to start. Like, I knew, like, oh, they just think she's missing, but she's fixing to walk through the doors. And then the doors fling open. I still get chill bumps thinking about it. I remember waking up and being like, only God, like being in just straight awe, staring at my ceiling for like 2 hours. Like, what did I just see? The doors fling open. The bride walks down the aisle. We sing, "You Are Our Champion."
Mm-hmm.
And giants fall when you, like, mm-hmm. you are, and we start just singing and worshiping and talking, like, praising, and I wake up. And so, fast forward, 6 months later, we pull into Oak Park. We're getting this tour by Asher. Asher doesn't show us the sanctuary. I've never seen the sanctuary. And we, Jeremy meets us outside and is like, y'all want to see the sanctuary? Did Asher show you the sanctuary? And we're like, no. And we walk in, and in my dream, I was sitting under this giant chandelier, staring at this giant chandelier, waiting on the bride to come. Mm-hmm. And I look at that chandelier, and I was like, I just thought, and then I remember my mindset shifted completely to, I don't want to be here, to, God, tell me what I'm supposed to do for Oak Park in this season. Mm-hmm. And then it's catapulted me into a whole season of yeses that I never expected, that we've talked about a little bit and I can't get into on the podcast now, but it just unraveled all. Like, I remember being anything Oak Park wants. There's something about this place, there's something about this season, and you were trying to tell me 6 months ago, here I am, and like, I'm sorry, I was throwing a fit, and just trust. And so sometimes we do just have to, they know more than
yeah.
Sometimes they may
not know more than us.
Yeah.
But it was God. We were just being obedient to the Lord.
Mm-hmm. We both were. Yes. And now there are times, and I do believe in confirming it to both spouses.
Yes.
But I knew what God was saying to me in that season was trust Him.
Yep.
And so He was trying to show me
but
that.
He needed to know that you trusted Him.
Yes.
So your husband, our husbands needed to know that we trusted them with just more than just finances or more than just, because being, your spiritual leader, that's a big responsibility. And letting them be that 100% follow me everywhere I go type thing, that's letting them know, hey, she trusts me. Mm-hmm. She trusts that I'm going to lead our family the right way, the way I'm supposed to, because I believe that it needs to be done that way. I believe that it helps the home to flow better in that sense too, because it's just, it has for us. Mm-hmm. I mean, I've got a whole day's worth that I could talk about, how God's brought us, where He's brought us from, and what He's brought us to, and what He's brought us through. Mm-hmm. But just be obedient. Mm-hmm. What does that pastor says? He said, partial obedience is still disobedience.
Total disobedience.
And and so I'll never forget it. He preached that one of the first times we came.
That's the hardest thing to hear in
and he was sitting there, and I was just sitting there going, man, my toes are. But you know what? I love to leave a service, and we leave every week with my toes hurting because I want to be preached to. Mm-hmm. I want the word, and I'm thankful for that. I'm thankful that God, there's a man of God up there that is delivering the word to us, like He is, and that we are able to go and take what He's told us and not just help others, but apply it. Mm-hmm. Get in your words. Like Sister Kim said this morning, you can't be a Christian and not know the word. You've got to apply the word. Yeah. You got to read the word. Mm-hmm. You've got to you can't just read the Bible. You got to read the Bible.
Gotta
you
read
know?
the Bible.
And that is just something that, I mean, for years, I'd always just listen to what was told to me. You just listen.
Yeah.
You know, but you got to
Apply
get in the
it.
Word, apply it. Yeah.
So that's what we're going to leave y'all on.
Yes.
Don't just listen, apply. Don't
Listen
just
and
read your
apply.
Bible, read your Bible. And partial obedience is total disobedience.
Yes.
Chew on that. So, but until next time, one more time, this is my friend Amy. I'm so glad to have had her. I hope y'all enjoyed this conversation as much as I have. And I will see you next week on For Heaven's Sake.
Bye. Tell everybody bye. Bye. Oh, my bad.